Hello YouTube, welcome back to another game of Starcraft 2 Legacy of the Void. This is going to be this third game between Beastyqt and HuK, a Terran vs Protoss from the Dreamhack 2016 Leipzig, which was held at the end of January. So this is just slightly pre-nerf of the Protoss adepts, so definitely something to note. So let's see how this one plays out. Our question of the series is currently, how do you feel about the Zerg? Just leave some comments. I mean, if you feel that they're absolutely weird, that they're absolutely terrifying, or they're absolutely fascinating, leave that in the comment section and I will very much appreciate that. Let's see how this game plays out. Our players, let's quickly introduce them. So Beastyqt is spawning as the yellow Terran, and he is at the top right hand side here. Beastyqt is on Team True eSport, and he's actually from Serbia, so definitely something to note. His opponent is going to be HuK, who I believe up until a few years ago or something, he was actually on Team Liquid. Currently he's on Evil Geniuses, and he's from Canada. So it looks like we've got a very early expansion here from Beastyqt, actually doing that before the gateway, before the barracks. So definitely something very important. Barracks being put down now at this point. Now there is a scouting probe on the way from HuK, basically just to see what exactly is going on, which is very standard. I mean, you definitely want to see if your opponent is going for some sort of cheese, if he's going for some sort of proxy, because if your opponent's going for a proxy and you're not prepared for it, I mean, that could be a 3-4 minute GG, which of course we don't want. Now, obviously, if you haven't seen the previous games, the links are in the description. I really recommend seeing those, because spoilers are very shortly about to be posted on the score tab over here. Okay, so there we go. Looks like we have a Nexus coming down for HuK as well. Scores are now moving up. HuK currently at 2-0, so managing to take the first 2 games of our series. So basically, if he takes this game, it is going to be pretty much all in his favor, so he will basically win the series and move on to the next round, which is round of 16. If he doesn't win, we're going to be moving on to a game number 4 and potentially a game number 5 after that to see who wins the current series. Twilight Council on the way, so going to potentially see some early upgrades, or even possibly going to see Dark Templars. Although, to be honest, I wouldn't expect it too much at the moment. I mean, he does have 2 gases, but 2 gases is... honestly, you know, I'm not even going to call it, because it could very well be Dark Templars. It is a possibility. It's definitely out there. But looks like he's gone for Resonating Glaives instead, so... thinking that our Terran player probably going to go for some sort of bio play, which so far is not very far off. I mean, he's got 2 barracks, and 2 barracks only, no factory just yet. The 3rd Nexus is on the way, so HuK definitely kind of planning for the long-term game here. I mean, you don't really build a 3rd Nexus at 3 minutes unless you really don't expect any aggression from your opponent. Okay, and there we go. Stargate is on the way. So Stargate is the choice of tech for HuK. So again, gonna potentially see, I mean, he made his opponent GG out in the last game with just a few Phoenixes and one Oracle. So a question is going to be whether he manages to do that again. Now this is getting spotted very early. This Reaper pretty much paying for himself by simply revealing the fact that there's a Stargate up. So Missile Turret is on the way. There's a factory on the way as well, and the question is going to be, is he going to go for Vikings? Because Vikings are so not popular right now. The only reason you really see Vikings are versus Zerg. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I would say. That's the main time you'd really see them. Maybe against Terran as well, but you know, that's a mirror matchup which you can pretty much play anything with. So Command Center on the way for Beastie as well, going for his own 3rd expansion, which is perfect. Starport going down as well, so really interesting to see how this one turns out. There we go, doing that rock breaking thing, which I was talking in one of my videos as well. As apparently it is because they actually misclick on the rocks every now and then and start to attack them instead by accident, which of course is not something you want to do. It's definitely a bit annoying and can possibly disrupt some of your micro as well. So more and more phoenixes being thrown out here for HuK. So definitely players seem to be very fond of phoenixes lately. I wonder really why that is. I mean, they didn't get any buff because there hasn't been any major patch in quite some time. So it's, I suppose, maybe just a meta shift. There's a lot of marines in the area right now, so it's gonna be a bit dangerous for these phoenixes. If they get out of position for just one moment, they will get absolutely decimated. Okay, proxy gateway being put down. It's very late for a proxy gateway if you ask me, but it's probably just there because if you warp in units next to a gateway, it essentially makes them warp in faster. Now this gets spotted pretty much immediately, which is a bit unfortunate because he's going to have to be cancelling that right now. And I believe he's going to cancel this. I mean, HuK has no reason to keep this alive because there's no way to defend it at this point. There we go, the cancellation going down. Now he's a bit oversaturated on his natural here. He does have a missile turret on the way as well, so definitely just being a bit wary of these phoenixes. And third base is already established. He's just not quite transferring his units or his command center over there. So would probably want to do that as soon as possible, just to basically get that economy rolling. It's definitely something you want to never fall behind a Protoss anyways. Protoss armies are so strong simply because they have the armor and shield. There we go, Phoenix is just getting a little bit out of position, lifting off one marine as well. Poor little marine. Command center finally going down here. There's only a few marines and marauders here, so while he has the bigger army supply, it's not a very versatile army. He's only got marines and marauders, which I suppose you could call versatile because they can pretty much do anything. They can take out heavy units, they can take out light units, unless of course you've got ultralisks, in which case they just piss in their boots. So let's see what our player is going to do here. HuK is kind of heavily favored right now in terms of worker supply. Worker supply though, I think that about 60 seems to be like a very sweet spot for worker supply. It's definitely, you know, somewhere where you want to be. And it looks like HuK going for another expansion. Now, the fact that he's still making probes, it's going to boost his economy nicely, but I think that he's kind of overbuilding on them at the moment. I mean, yeah, a lot of economy is awesome, but when you have so many probes that it's diminishing the size of your army, that is not a good place to be in. Unless, of course, you plan on fighting with small armies all the time, in which case, of course, you know, you can reinforce very quickly. You have a bunch of resources. And that is very important. Now, strangely enough, got a bit of a lag spike there. That's not something we see every day. And Phoenix is just doing a bit of harassment and moving on away. Looks like we got a Templar Archives on the way. So gonna potentially see some Archons as well. Let's see, level 2 weapons also on the way. Level 1 shields, or armor rather, for bio units. And just a note, there is a Ghost Lab on the way, or Ghost Academy. Which means that he's definitely interested in putting down some hurt on those shields. Ghost, of course, the natural counter to shielded units. Simply because they can do that nice EMP snipe that they can do. Phoenix is moving out again. This base is already fully established. Does look like we've got just 2 cannons here, basically to defend any sort of minor engagements. Might also hold off a drop. And there we go. This getting cancelled pretty much immediately. He knows that if he's not careful, he could very well lose that Nexus. And let's see what these Marines manage to do here. Obviously, stimmed Marines have one of the highest DPS. Defender Circle is going to be going down here as well. And these units are going to be dropping like flies right now. HuK is absolutely not scared here. He moves straight in, but at the same time, I think that he's just got decimated right here. Beastyqt with this marine monster army just running straight into his base. I think this is pretty much it for HuK. Beastyqt taking his first game of the series, and I'm just going to call it right here. There's probably no recovery out of this one whatsoever. Honestly, if I had to put a blame on something that HuK did in this one, I would probably say that he's just overbuilt his base. He's got 76 workers right now. He was worried so much about his economy, but not quite putting enough effort into his army supply. Whereas Beastyqt off 3 bases did just that, building a bunch of attacking units, and with that, just overrunning his base altogether. So good play here from Beastyqt. And I think, oh wow, that was the huge depowering of buildings. That's 5 gateways and a Templar Archives pretty much immediately. So HuK, are you going to GG out, or are you going to drag this on? Because honestly, at this point, there's not a whole lot that you can do with every one of your main base buildings being powered off. Or is he just typing a big long rage message? That could also very well be the case. HuK, we're waiting on you, buddy. 5 army supply, and there we go. GG is called. Finally leaving the game. So that is pretty much that. Game number 3 taken by Beastyqt, bringing the score up to 2 against 1 in favor of HuK. And that is it for game number 3. I hope you have enjoyed this one. This finally brings Beasty on the score, and that is pretty good for him. I mean, he's punished the fact that HuK went for too many workers, and it of course paid off at the end. So that's pretty much it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave it a thumbs up, of course, if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more. I will see you guys in game number 4, where we're going to see how HuK reacts to this aggression. So I'll leave you with a common question of this series, which is, of course, what do you feel about the Zerg? How do you think they are? Do you think they're cool? Do you think they're awesome? Do you think they are weird, overpowered, or crazy? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Good luck, take care, bye bye.